You are listening to Unscripted Moments, a podcast about Propagandhi. My guest on this episode is one I've been looking forward to chatting with for a while now. You might recognize her from bands like Transgressive or Project Roenwolfe, or from being a power metal expert on Twitter. This episode, we're going to talk about her career as an artist, her admiration for Propagandhi, get a closer look at a few Propagandhi songs, and then we're going to deep dive into power metal power rankings. Welcome to the show, Alicia Cordisco.
Thank you so much. I am so glad to be on this podcast. I really appreciate you guys inviting me and looking forward to chatting with you today.
So if you could just kind of introduce yourself a little bit to the audience who may not necessarily be familiar with you or your projects, and just kind of give everyone a little bit of a background.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So I am, I guess you could say, a multi-genre, multi-role songwriter and instrumentalist. I've been playing metal for, about 20 years. And right now I'm in a thrash band where I do vocals and guitar. It's called Transgressive. And that is a leftist, queer-focused thrash band that raises money for multiple mutual aid-focused charities. And I'm also in a long-standing power thrash band that hasn't been super prolific, but we've got our third record coming out here soon, and that is called Project Roenwolfe, which I'm in with one member of Transgressive, Leona Hayward. She's the bass player in both bands, and then Ernie and Patrick are the other members, the drummer and vocalist respectively, and both of them either do currently play in the power metal band Theocracy or used to play in the power metal band Theocracy. So we've got a lot of history there. And then some people know me from the 10 years I played in a band. I started a power metal band called ex-Judicator that I was in for 5 albums, prosthetic records, until about 2020 when I left the band to do what I'm doing now.
Oh, that's honestly, I just, hearing you talk about that, I'm so jazzed for the latter part of this episode where we get to nerd out about power metal. But,
fantastic.
But, keeping with the theme of the podcast and talking about like music with message behind it, like Propagandhi has, can you just kind of go into briefly and talk about, just tell everyone about Transgressive a bit more, because I feel like the listeners of this podcast can really connect with that project you're doing, because I've listened to the record. I love that record. I think the songwriting is awesome. The vocals are killer and the riffs are absolutely ripping. So can you please just talk a bit more about that project specifically? Because I think the listeners will really connect with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for the kind words. Transgressive is a band I've wanted to do for a long time. And I kind of see it as the full realization of like what I thought I wanted to do when I was a teenager, but didn't really have the knowledge or skills to do. I always got deeply into political punk and not power metal, thrash metal when I was a kid, and that was a lot of my intro journey into metal and music. So I tried to do that when I was 16, and I was mostly like still learning how to be a guitar player, how to be a vocalist. I didn't have a lot of political knowledge back then. I just knew that things sucked and I didn't really know how to articulate it. So coming into my 30s, I'm 33 now, and I've had a lot of life experience since then. And my experience as a trans woman definitely influences that and my involvement in political communities and causes over the years. I really wanted to make a band that put something into the world that I want to hear more of, and that is heavy metal that is one, aggressively topically political. It's not shrouded in allegory, shrouded in metaphor. It's not just something you pick up every once in a while in between songs about dragons. It's focused and explicit is what I wanted. And that's something that exists. Everything we're doing is something that's been done before, keep in mind, but it's something I want to see more of and I wanted to be involved with. And especially for, I know people like myself, trans people, queer people, etc. We don't have a ton of representation. It exists. I'm a big Gloss fan, for instance. Hardcore punk by trans women, very leftist message.
Great band.
But yeah, I fucking love those releases. Wish there was more, but
yeah.
So there's a scarcity of it. It exists, but it doesn't get the spotlight that it always deserves, and it doesn't exist in mass quantities. And so what I wanted to do is take my existing musical career, and I've been fortunate to have some really decent success and visibility and contacts and resources in my life, and turn that to something that is personally important to me as well. Like I've touched on political topics in other bands. Roenwolfe is pretty political at times, but I wanted it to be personal and visceral. And it felt like a band that I had to be the front woman for. It had to be my voice screaming literally my lyrics. I didn't want somebody else filling the role for me. So it all kind of came from that perspective. And while it is a thrash band and there's a lot of little influences from other genres in it, I do see it as having that like hardcore and punk root at it, especially with my vocals. I take a lot more influence from like crust punk and things like that than I do from like, say, death metal, for instance, being a harsh vocalist. So I've always wanted to kind of keep that authentic punk center to it, while putting it in the lens of thrash metal, which is inherently a punk influenced genre. So it seemed to fit.
Oh yeah, it's such a killer record. This morning I was really feeling Landlord Liquefier this morning. Like that is such a ripping song.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that's definitely a very lyrically Dead Kennedys influence there. And while I don't necessarily have a liquefier at my disposal, it certainly expresses my feelings on landlords.
I don't know what the rental situation is in where you are in Arizona, but here in Ontario, it's absolutely obscene. Like the average price for a 2-bedroom apartment in the Toronto vicinity now is close to $3,000 a month.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Turn the liquefier on, throw them in.
Yeah, so it's definitely something that I think a lot of people can relate to. So
yeah,
I'm super jazzed to have this album come into my life.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
So when you were talking, kind of giving us a brief overview of the band, you talked about how it's important to have more representation in the metal community. How do you feel as though, us as the metal community overall are kind of not dealing, but like, do you see a shift in representation within the metal community? Are you seeing like more diverse crowds? How are you feeling basically, going to metal shows or talking metal with people?
I think fandom wise, we have a very diverse fandom when it comes to metal crowds in general. I think there are fans of all kinds that find relation and connection in this music, regardless of who is making it. I know tons of metalheads in my time that aren't, straight cis white men. There's definitely diversity in audience. And things have gotten better representation wise for certain groups in the last 20 years. 20 years ago, there were not a lot of, cis straight white women who were anything other than like the sexploitation of, the Beauty and the Beast style gothic bands. And not that there's anything wrong with that genre. I love a lot of that music. I'm a huge Nightwish fan, for instance. But that was kind of like the only avenue that got mainstream attention. And now, I mean, you have entire genres, new wave of traditional heavy metal, that are just filled with female vocalists, female guitarists, female bassists, female drummers. Japanese metal has tons of all-female bands. So in some respects, that representation has gotten better. Not as much in representing like BIPOC voices, queer voices, etc. It seems that those are more exceptions to the rule still. I myself have been fortunate to have a big platform for someone like me who doesn't have major label support anymore. So, Bandcamp has been very supportive. Certain other organizations have been very supportive. Other artists have been very supportive, and I've been able to get my voice out there in a big way. But I feel that is an exception, not a rule. I feel like I had a lot of time to build a platform myself before I came out, and I benefited from, passing as a cis, not straight, but white man before. And while I wasn't those things and I didn't benefit from the privilege that a lot of men would, because I was a closeted trans woman, still it allowed me to get bigger visibility. That definitely reduced after I came out, but still a lot of connections, etc., that I might not have been able to build if I had just come in straight out the gate, out of the closet, if that makes sense. So we do have some great representation in metal of more visible trans women. Melissa Moore, for instance, is a huge one. Insonia and Corpse Spitter, or Cross Spitter, sorry. And other like women of color, etc. You got Oceans of Slumber, who's huge right now. But I feel those are exceptions, and metal still has to really make an effort to platform a diverse cast of artists and bands, queer, Black, Indigenous, non-white, trans, all of that. We don't all necessarily have the same opportunities or platforms or visibility. So we have to be intentional, whether we're fans putting spotlight on music, or we're people in the industry working with labels, A&R, distribution, etc., and making sure that we give equal attention to all those things, rather than defaulting to like the predominantly, non-queer white voices that we typically channel up, if that makes sense.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree. Like literally the last thing that anyone needs is another version of Amon Amarth right now.
That's fair, yeah.
Like that is literally the last thing. If I have to, like, that being said, like I've gone to multiple shows where they've played and I've left every time, like right after they've started. But if I have to go to another show and watch a whole bunch of dudes drinking out of horns and rowing boats on the ground, like I am going to lose it. Like there's, not to rag on Amon Amarth or anything, but like that was maybe one of the least diverse crowds that I've seen at a metal show.
Yeah, that's fair.
But
yeah, and I see tons of artists that are diverse artists. There's tons of, Black singers and trans guitar players and everything you can think of, and it's just like they don't get the same attention. We're at a crucible moment where, if we're intentional and reacting defensively against cultural bigotry and systemic bigotry that's going on, we can really shift the paradigm as a subculture from, diverse voices being an exception into something that is normalized, and people have regular access and regular representation and regular like representation in not just artistry, but in the industry as well.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing where we're going with this, because I feel like some great things can happen, because the voices that aren't being heard are the voices that are going to be doing stuff that's different.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we need different to be able to continually push the boundaries of loud music, at least in my opinion.
Agreed completely.
So let's start going into obviously more about what this podcast is about in actual Propagandhi. So your music, as self-admittedly, has that activist tinge to it, similar to Propagandhi in numerous ways. So if you could just kind of give us a bit of a background on your history with Propagandhi, your fandom of them, kind of let us know what your connection is to the band.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're actually fairly new to me as far as, I mean, obviously I heard of them. They're very popular. But I never really sat down and listened to them until very recently. I mean, we're talking in the last year is the first time I really listened to their discography in full, um, beyond just the popular songs that you've heard or the ones that everyone talks about. I never really deep dived any of their work. And so I didn't really consider myself a fan. It was just like, oh yeah, I know that band, and they're pretty good, and I like their message, but I don't really listen to them. So I think some of that is just when I was younger, I was very like anti-melodic punk for some reason. Like,
Oh, it's
um,
totally fair. Like I've met a lot of people that just kind of write things off because it
yeah,
doesn't fall in what they normally do, but we all come around.
yeah. I was just young and being like, oh, only crust punk is cool, and um, which is funny because like propaganda gets like really heavy at times and even technical for punk, which as I deep dove their discography, I was like, this is like technical crust melodic proggy punk in a lot of ways. So it was a great discovery to realize, that I had been silly and put something off for so long. And I actually kind of like that feeling to like realize like, oh yeah, shit, I should have probably listened to this band, 10 years ago. While it does feel a little humbling, it's nice to go like, wow, this treasure chest I just opened is wonderful. So yeah, the lyrics obviously huge appeal. I do like that they have a really wide breadth of how they approach political topics. Like there's some that are very straight faced, like critical of systems and people, etc., that are shitty in the world. But then there's also like a lot of frustration with the experience of fighting those things and living under those things. There's frustrations with not being able to do anything, with the way friends react, with the way communities react. And I really appreciate the vulnerability they present in that anger. And like one thing that I think is really cool over the albums is like you can feel that perspective change in ways as they get older. And you can kind of get that sense of like how that frustration changes over time. And it's really interesting to me to see that kind of almost continued story throughout their discography. That's just not something I really hear in a lot of other political music, which tends to be a little bit more like theory oriented, if that makes sense.
Oh no, absolutely. It is really cool. I'm glad you brought that up to see the overarching, progression of the voice throughout all of the different albums. And like I think Chris is a criminally underrated lyricist.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he phrases things in songs, I think he does not get nearly enough credit for how clever he structures things.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing that's really cool is like every song is just like him having a conversation, honestly, is what it feels like. But it's still so lyrical and still so sing-songy, which is just super impressive to me to be able to be both almost stream of consciousness, but then still have like totally the entertainment catchy side of music just flawlessly combined with it.
And then he's like, how about I just bust out this absolutely face melting riff on top of it too?
Yeah, yeah, that's the other thing. Like they get crazy for a punk band. Like they get musically complex in ways that will trip you up and surprise you. And I honestly love that about them.
Yeah, it's always an adventure. They're one of those bands that at least that I feel like, you get into a rabbit hole and you do a deep dive and you're into it, then you walk away for a while and then you come back and then you find new things that you
Mhm.
appreciate about it. And I think
Yeah.
that's the beauty of the band.
Absolutely. They're so re-listenable because they don't really repeat themselves a lot in songs. It's just like, okay, this 2-minute song, but like you're going on a journey. It's not two verses, two choruses done. So there's a lot of re-listenability.
Let's do a dive into our first song. Our first song we're going to talk about, With Friends Like These, Who the Fuck Needs Cointelpro? So tell me a bit about your time and place feeling Today's Empire's album as a whole before we talk about the specific song.
So Today's Empires is the one album that I was really familiar with before I deep dove Propagandhi. And that is the one album I had for a couple of years before really getting into them. The one album I would listen to where I was like, yeah, this is a great album. I love this album, but I'm not going to listen to the band any further. So it's really my starting point and my context for the band. And it's still probably my favorite record by them. That might just be, exposure bias, but I just think it's their classic record and their like seminal important album, if that makes sense.
I mean, I love the album too. The album actually has my favorite Propagandhi song on it. So
which one's that?
I mean, I talk about it on literally every episode. My favorite song is Fearing the Hall of Fame.
Nice.
I mean,
it's an excellent one.
To me, it's like I want to end every album I listen to with that song because it's that good. Yeah. Anyways, so when we're talking about the song Cointelpro, anything sticking out to you in this song, like musically?
Yeah, so my favorite part of this song is the outright Judas Priest homage. That stuck out to me the first time I heard it, where like they go into the "You've Got Another Thing Coming," and it's just like a speed picked version of the Judas Priest riff almost, and like the vocal line is almost exactly the same. I just thought that was so it just felt like a musical shout out moment because I don't think it's topical to the song at all. I mean, certainly the words fit in the lyrics, but the Judas Priest reference, I don't think there's anything really politically relevant there. But I'm a huge Judas Priest fan, so
it's a nice Easter egg for everyone listening, basically.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'm doing the Judas Priest cast next weekend.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's a fun song. I remember the first time I heard this song, I was like, "This is a good song."
Yeah. Yeah, it's very bouncy, very fun. It's a serious topic, of course, but I love the kind of, I guess there's a little bit of just throwing the seriousness of it to the wind and being really fun in its execution.
Anything else sticking out about the guitar riffing in this song?
I just love any time that they do a straightforward, fast, almost like speed metal influenced song. That's really my shit when it comes to other music. So just hearing that in a punk context always makes me happy. Anytime there's like muted speed picking like there is in this song, I'm always happy.
Yeah, no, it's great. So diving into the lyrics here, anything sticking out about the lyrics?
Yeah, I love that this song kind of takes what would normally be a political topic, Cointelpro, and layers that into a personal experience. And this one is very important to me, especially because a lot of people don't know what the fuck Cointelpro is. And Cointelpro was absolutely instrumental in basically dismantling leftist and especially Black Power movements in the United States. And it's completely declassified is the crazy thing. Like you can go read about it on Wikipedia. Like their job was to disrupt leftist organization and to outright stop Black Power movements. And that's just insane that's just like public knowledge. And no one really seems to connect the dots on how that affects us today. I mean, we're still experiencing the consequences. It's all about...
everyone's just like, oh, we're cool with it.
Yeah, if they even know about it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like hiding in plain sight. And obviously people into more leftist theory and history know it, but I just mean your general, well-meaning leftist or even liberal person. And the song is so interesting to me as a trans person in 2023 because like the title says, with friends like these, who the fuck needs Cointelpro? And it's all about how basically his friends who were alleged leftists, either due to like infighting or getting jaded or selling out or like basically just giving into the system, abandoned the cause, abandoned their friends, and ultimately harmed the things that they cared about. And that was the objective of Cointelpro, was to disrupt people and encourage infighting that would basically deorganize people or discredit leaders. And that happens on the communal level and the friendship level too. And that's so fucking relevant if you've read any thread on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like, they don't even need Cointelpro these days because, while the fascists are running room clearing drills and shooting beer cans pretending there are heads, we're arguing about whether it's transmedicalist to put your HRT date in your bio on Twitter. And, I'm not discrediting the importance of intercommunal behavior, but I'm sorry, I just don't care about small issues like that and like trying to rip each other apart over small petty things ultimately when the fucking boot is on our neck. And that's really what movements like Cointelpro set out to achieve. So when I look around, it's like, yeah, no, Propagandhi, I agree with friends like this. They don't even need to work when we're going to sit here and pick each other apart for minor language while, they continue to pass laws in 15 states now that's taking away our medical care and furthering their objective to make it illegal to even be in public.
It's horrific. Like it's one of those things we have a big picture problem, but everyone's spending their time focusing on small picture solutions.
Yeah.
When
those things are important, but like if you get lost in them, then you've lost the big picture, and then we don't even need to fight to lose. We've already lost.
Yeah, it's sad. But okay, going back to the song here. I don't know if this is the part I appreciate in the lyrics here is when he says miscredit, discredit, or other, the pause in between other and wise is awesome.
Yeah, I think that's like a beautiful one, just play on words there, but how he physically executed it in the vocals to sell it, I think is awesome. And that's something he does quite a lot. It feels like that's kind of one of his signature tools.
Yeah, it's I remember Fat Mike does that a lot on a whole bunch of NoFX songs, but I far prefer the way Chris does it in Propagandhi songs.
Yeah, he accomplishes a lot in a little bit of time, and I love that the lyrics specify comrades in quotation marks to mock it, and like you can hear the sass in his voice when he sings that part.
Oh, when he wants to, he's got so much sass in his voice. And I think it adds to the experience of listening to the songs, absolutely, because they're so self-reflective and it's almost like inner monologue, right? So the sass is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe this is just me not thinking about the song enough before, but maybe the Judas Priest reference, he mentions Judas kiss in it earlier. Maybe it's just like leaning into the concept of betrayal, which is really the crux of the song.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. That it's overall, where would you rank that song on the album?
Honestly,
top tier, middle tier, or bottom tier?
I put it in top tier. I don't think it's my favorite song on the album because I really, really love Fuck the Border. That's probably my favorite song. But I didn't want to go into that one because I think you guys had covered it fairly recently. And I would still put it top tier, but not my favorite song.
Here's the crazy thing here. We can talk about whatever we want. So if you want to talk briefly about that song, let's have at it. Tell me why you love that song.
Oh, well, one, just for it being a great song, but two, I've lived in Tucson, Arizona, South Tucson, Arizona, my whole life, almost, minus a few years. I moved away. So I've grown up in predominantly, Mexican American immigrant and native areas, and had my nose basically in all the anti-border legislation, racist legislation that's come out over the years. Most of my friends have been Mexican American. I'm not myself, but I've been in that culture and known that culture very well as an ally. Um, and it's something I've seen affect my community deeply over the years. I mean, in high school, we were walking out of school protesting bills that made it illegal to teach about Mexican American history in public schools. I was a public school teacher here, and it was made illegal to teach bilingual education, which meant that if I translated a Spanish word for a student, that I could technically lose my teaching license over it. And these are just like overtly, racist laws with a clear white supremacist agenda, to say nothing of the horrors that happen 10 miles down the road from me, where people are literally kept in holding facilities that are essentially concentration camps. They're not executing anyone, but they're splitting up families, putting them in cages, inhuman conditions. People are dying from that, and then they're deporting them to poverty and sometimes to certain death when they're coming from South America and potentially fleeing violence. It's horrible. And truly, like, the song resonates with me from just a humanitarian perspective of the violence inherent to borders, because all that stuff I just talked about is different aspects of the violence that is required to keep that border. As a communist anarchist, that's why I believe so deeply in fuck the concept of states, because borders are all defined by the violence that keeps them a border. So that song says a lot in a minute and 32 seconds about that. And I really think it's great to just have such a poignant example and so visceral of just fuck the border. Like, that says it all right there.
I mean, I love that song too. And I'm going to date myself here. I'm going to just quickly look this up, because I don't want to sound like any more of a bozo than I normally do when I talk on this podcast. Yeah. Okay. So based off of that, so the time and place in which that song came out. So that is really the first Todd song in the Propagandhi kind of catalog, because that's his first album with the band, right? So it's interesting that your favorite Propagandhi song is a Todd song. And
yeah. I mean, maybe it's because it's the second song I ever heard by them, and it's funny too, because me speaking about wishing I had listened to the band earlier. Like, I was in high school when that album came out. I'm pretty sure this was what, 2003, 2002.
Yeah, I want to say 2000.
Okay, so a couple of years short of high school. Either way, very topical. A lot of that stuff was really reaching its breaking point, and we still live with the consequences today under every administration we've had since then. So yeah, my first exposure was Todd heavy for sure.
Love it. Okay, let's go on to the next song that we'll discuss today, a Speculative Fiction. So this one's on the City Limits record. So when was the first time you heard the City Limits record, and what were your initial thoughts on that record?
So that was sometime last year. I had first really gotten into this one, and it was actually the second Propagandhi record that I actually bought and deep dived into. Particularly because as I was scrolling through their discography, I just really loved the song title "Rock for Sustainable Capitalism." Just these guys have like the greatest song titles. That's all I want to say. Every single song title is just like a knockout. But the thing that's cool about a Speculative Fiction, one, it's a longer song for them, which I think musically is super interesting. Like, there's a lot more expansion and meat on the bones here. But the lyrics are really why I chose the song. There's a lot of political allegory in here, talking about the Iron Curtain, the 49th parallel, the Battle of 1812. There's literally references to things like United We Stand, and all these things are just used in really interesting, like metaphorical ways to compare them to living in like like urban North America in modern times. And I just really love how he has such a great way of taking like historical context and putting it right street level into our what our lives are like now.
And I think that's such an important skill because, a lot of these topics that are discussed in, this song and other songs, while people may be familiar with them, I think a lot of people maybe sometimes struggle at making the subject matter like extremely relevant to them on a day-to-day basis. And I think that's really where Chris has that, that extra ability to be able to make us all relate to the songs more.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's really important in discussing politics and history, because a lot of times when and this is just from the perspective of like how those things are discussed in like privileged white America, a lot of the empathy is lost and it becomes very academic, which I'm sure is the point, but kind of decontextualizing that from an academic discussion and making it into something very personally relatable to re-engage that empathy for the suffering of people over hundreds of years is such an important skill in political and historical discussion. And really, when it's coming to, I'm sure he, as someone like Chris is not coming from the same backgrounds as a lot of the topics he's talking about, and so a lot of his friends, a lot of his audience probably have similar backgrounds to him. So being able to engage that empathy and helping other people kind of see past their privilege, I think is just a really great skill. Like, if you can shock people out of their perspective and kind of open the wounds, I really think that's kind of the point of protest music ultimately.
Maybe because we've obviously grown up in this musical world, right? Where a lot of the music we do listen to has that the message behind it. It's one thing to just put it out there, but like we said, to have the ability to, I don't know, I just feel like the way they do it is different, and it hits different.
Absolutely, I think so too. And I really appreciate that. Like, I like to use the term street level. I know that's a superhero term, but he puts it at street level, like you can see yourself in your neighborhood, in your life, and kind of see how those systemic historical things affect people that aren't you. And I think that's a really good lens, especially for allies, or like for me as a white person to be able to understand racism that I'll never experience, but to still have empathy for and to unlearn my biases. I really find an importance in art that deconstructs that, to help with that.
Oh, absolutely. Because, it's not as if, I mean, up here when we, the places I've worked recently and everything like that, we all have to do, it's mandatory that we have to take like unconscious bias training and everything like that. But I feel as though it does all these trainings and everything, they don't do as good of a job at laying things out as well as like these albums do, if that makes sense.
It does. Yeah. Because I think those are still very like, they're very whitewashed and like don't want to actually acknowledge the problem. Like the intention is there, but not the execution.
Yeah. They're so dry, and it would be, it's unfortunate, but I mean, it's part of the process of corporate culture, right? Let's say we want to take a whole bunch of chances, but then let's just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Exactly.
So, but anyways, that's my rant about work. All right, let's move. Oh, so before we move on to the next song, I just want to get your opinion of the sweet little thrash part towards the end of this song.
Oh yeah, I mean that sold me on the album immediately. And when I made reference to like sometimes this feels like sometimes they feel like technical crust music. That's like exactly what I'm talking about when they throw in those. I mean, yeah, they've got a lot of like speed pick heavy riffs, but like when they actually go off on more techie riffs like that, I think that's just the coolest shit because it combines so well with the aggressive melodic punk that they do. Um, so once I heard that song, I was like, oh, I'm in for a ride with this album, I'm sure.
It's cool to see the progression of not only like the lyrics and the messaging, but it's also the progression of the songwriting throughout
Mhm.
all of the albums. And that, the first album was very much soft compared to this album.
Yeah.
And then, they're only getting more riff heavy as they go on.
Yeah, they get angrier the more older they get.
Right? Like, and I'm here for it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
same. And I relate. I mean, I'm not as old as them, but like I think about when I was 18, I was just like a ball of fury and anger. And 15 years later, that person was happy by comparison to like the rage I feel now.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, I think I'm maybe similar-ish in age to them,
Mhm.
but I feel as though I've appreciated them more and more as I've gotten older as well.
Yeah. And I think that's the cool thing they bring up in their lyrics because there's a few points, even in this song, they mention, I think it's this song. Yeah, he mentions that like we got a good 15 years left till the United We Stand murals on West Broadway finally fade and we wave goodbye to sad childish refrains. Like he's talking about, in my opinion, how people get de-radicalized and conservative as they get older, usually because maybe they come into more money, they experience their privilege more fully, and that makes them less empathetic to others. And he says it's replaced with stupid lullabies like you can have my guns when you pry them from my cold dead hands, which is a very conservative saying. So it feels like he's criticizing the people who, as they get older, they get softer and they give into that adage of like, oh, you'll get more conservative as you get older, when really age has nothing to do with it. It's privilege.
I'd like to think that I've gotten nothing but harder as I've gotten older, but
Well, that's my perception of you, so I think you're good.
thank you. Okay, next song from the supporting cast album, Without Love. Tell me everything that you love about this song or don't love.
So, one, I appreciate musically that this is more of like they don't really do ballads. This is probably the closest they get to a ballad in my experience. Even though it still gets pretty heavy at times. So it's just kind of cool to see like what that looks like in a Propagandhi context. Like, what does a softer, more emotive song look like for them? And as it turns out, it's still got plenty of guts to it. But I just really like that kind of different musical approach. This song sounds really unique in their honestly in their whole discography, but particularly on this album, which has definitely a lot of heavy stuff on it. And this song there's a certain tempo and thematic feel that's different here, and I love that musically about it.
It's one of my favorite songs on the record, not just because of like the subject matter, but
Mhm.
musically it is a really strong written song.
Yeah, it's a journey for sure. I know I've been saying that about all their songs, but this one really takes some twists and turns between the soft parts and heavier parts. Um, so I definitely love that about it. Now,
But
lyrically, that's a different story.
how are you feeling about the lyrics?
I mean, I love the lyrics, but it's hard to listen to, is the thing I'll say. And I picked this one because it's one of their few songs that is not political at all. This is a deeply personal song about grief. And while he does mention his grandfather, I know that the inspiration is his cat that he mentioned in the lyrics. And as someone who's had traumatic pet death in the past, um, that just really, I love when bands write songs about pet grief. I think that is a really cool subject to do because there's a lot of disdain for people that grieve over their pets in popular society still. Pet death can be just as traumatic as a friend dying because your friend died. It's someone, it's a living being that was a part of your life daily that meant so much to you, and you lose that. That grief is traumatic, and we should be able to have a platform to talk about that and relate to that. So I love when a band presents that in a song, and I think this one is just a beautiful execution of that.
Yeah, I resonated with this a lot because, like you, I've had some horrifically sad pet loss.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a long time to be able to, you know, get over it. Not that you ever really get over it. You just kind
Yeah.
of, live with it basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that like it definitely resonated on that extra level with me, and it got me reflectively thinking about my former pets and stuff. And
Yeah.
it's I love a song that makes you feel.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's kind of refreshing in their discography where I like that this song comes from a personal place, not just because I enjoy autographical songs from artists and I like to hear them express things that are specifically about them. Obviously, Chris feels a lot and has personal experience with politics, but this is something that he wrote that only applies to him. It has a universal experience that we can all relate to, but he's the one grieving over his cat, over his grandfather. We relate our grief, but we're not grieving over his grandfather, etc. If you catch my meaning.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I really love that kind of vulnerability. As an artist, I think that's a really great thing to do, but it's refreshing in Propagandhi because a lot of their songs, like if you really emotionally dive into them, there is it can be overwhelming to think about, like, okay, well, it's me against the fucking capitalist system of the world. That feels unfathomable to the point where you almost disconnect from it. Whereas this is like very personally connected, very personally empathetic, and something you can really feel unique to yourself, inside to yourself, and share that with another person, and realize you're not alone in those feelings. So I really think that's refreshing in their lyrics.
It's almost like a nice, like, I don't want to say like this in a negative way, but it's like a really cool reprieve in terms of messaging.
Yeah, I agree. It's just while the song is about grief, and it can be hard to listen to, I do find it comforting. Because ultimately the song ends on a message of hope.
Exactly. Yeah.
The cosmic sadness is just here to remind you that without love, breathing is just the ticking of, and the implication being the clock. While he's aggrieved for what he lost, he's ultimately saying, like, that's what makes life worth living. That's a very empowering message. Like, that time wasn't wasted. Whereas in their other songs, it can feel like we're really hitting futility on the head with a hammer. This feels like, okay, this pain was, every time you get a pet, you're purchasing a small tragedy, basically, or a huge tragedy. And but the ultimate message is that it's worth it. It's worth it to love, even if it means loss.
That message alone is such an important message for people to hear.
I agree. And I find it comforting, because sadness and grief can be so overwhelming, and it can feel like, what's the fucking point? But to remember that the point was to have that experience and have those relationships, and they don't go away just because someone died. As long as you live, their memory lives within you. So I love that it's an uplifting song. Honestly, I wouldn't expect any less from them. They're not I don't read Chris as a nihilist personally, despite the futility that he addresses in political messaging. I always read that there's a point to contemplating the sadness and the misery, or even the futility. And I love that he, even as he gets older, still puts a positive spin on it. Like there's a time and a place for depressive nihilistic art. I listen to a lot of Funeral Doom. Um, but I love that in this band, the choice is to ultimately uplift.
Oh, I listen to that song and I'm like, I just want to give Chris a hug.
Yeah. Yeah. You can tell he was going through it for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites for sure. Okay, next jam. Failed States. Hit me.
All right, let me pull up my track list. All right, so Failed States, I just want to say I freaking love the title. It's just so poignant. And I think it's great choice for a title track. Like that just says it all right there. Like Failed States, wonderful title track choice. And I love that the title track is one of the shortest songs on the album, especially on an album where you have, several 4-minute, 5-minute, 6-minute songs, which isn't common for them. So I just think that's like a musical flex. Like we're gonna prove the point of this album in 1 minute and 50 seconds.
Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then again, this album is one of their, in my opinion, one of their more fierce and fast records. Probably one of their heaviest, honestly. And I just love that just they beat that brow through every single track here. This album is a 43-minute burner. And it's probably like top 3 records to me for them.
That's great. So in terms of the song Failed States, musically, it's a short song. What are you taking away from the musicianship of this song in the short time it's around?
Yeah, I love that this song is so short, especially compared to like the opening track, which is basically an epic by their standards. But in the way that it also thematically encompasses the album lyrically, I love that this song is just kind of like a jaunt through everything that they're about in a very short time. It's melodic, it's heavy, it's fast, but it's also got a great groove to it, especially with how the vocals interlay with the music. And if I were going to pick a song to just like succinctly show what this band is, like, hey, I got 2 minutes of your time and I'm going to prove to you why you should listen to this band, I would probably choose this song.
Oh, that's an interesting choice. I love it. In terms of the lyrics of this song, let's dive into that. Is anything in these lyrics jumping out at you? Any lines in here that you're like, that is a line?
I really think that the sentence, like the fact that this sentence exists just brings me joy. Just straight sandwiched between Tom Hanks and Lance Bass is just a hilarious sentence. Like linguistically, it's just really funny to me, and the absurdity of the reference. And the metaphor, and like you just get that picture of being on like business class with like, oh, here's Tom Hanks, here's this dude from NSYNC. So that brings me joy, and I get what the metaphor is, and it's an important metaphor about like celebrities and money and all that. But just the absurdity of the lyrics and the image it conjures in so few words is just pure joy to me.
Oh, it's great. When I first heard that, I had a good laugh.
Yep. Yeah. So, and I mean, that's just goes back to how Chris packs so much in so little. Like that guy is an expert in brevity. Like he took 7-8 words here and just put so much imagery into it. And while Lance Bass is probably not a universal reference anymore, just having Tom Hanks there, like this song contextually will always make sense from a pop culture standpoint.
Oh, for sure. I find he's a very visual songwriter in that every song I listen to, it paints a very clear picture in my mind while I'm listening to it.
Absolutely.
And this is a picture that I'm perfectly happy with him painting.
Definitely. I also love that if I had a dime for every single idiotic time I felt like strangling some goof on the street, that precedes that.
Yeah.
Just like what a jump, like from painting the frustration of, because this is an anti-war song.
Yeah.
Ultimately, and painting the frustration of war, of just like just strangling somebody on the street, and then immediately jumping that into a comparison to like the shallowness of like celebrity and entertainment culture and how that distracts us from the importance of political issues, particularly war. Wow, what a jump and what a powerful image and metaphor in 2 fucking lines. I had to listen to the song a few times before it clicked for me. But again, back to like why I think this is my song to show people, especially lyrically. I'm just like, this is someone who artistically is someone who works great with, he can make a lot out of so little. Like some people need a blank page and need a lot of tools, a lot of time, a lot of different textures, whatever, to make their point and to make their art. And that's cool. There's a time and place for that. But like this is a guy who can take a dime and get 12 cents out of it, if that makes sense.
And I think it's gonna actually, the comment that you just made right there, I think is the perfect transition to our next topic. In that, when you said he can do a lot with very little, and translating that into, not that we're obviously going to be wrapping up our Propagandhi part of it here, in that both of our favorite band, they only do things on the grandest scale.
Yes, they are the executors of excess.
For those listening that are not familiar with it, that we are both Blind Guardian super fans. And Blind Guardian, for those not familiar, are power metal band from Germany. They've been around since 88, I think was their first album.
Mm-hmm.
And they reached a period towards the middle part of their career where they were not only just writing like epic power metal songs, but maybe like the most grand songs recorded. Like the A Night at the Opera record is as grand of an album as you're maybe ever going to hear.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. The word minimalism is something I will never use when referencing Blind Guardian. They are maximalism to the max.
And like I remember when that album came out, they took forever to record that album.
Mm-hmm.
And when it finally got released, usually albums that take, you think of albums that take super long time, like whatever, like Chinese Democracy is the one that everyone thinks of, right? But
yeah,
this, like when it came out, I was like, oh my God, what did they just do?
Yeah, that was the album that was out when I got into them about 2003, 2004. And I remember, and I don't think this way anymore, but in 2006, when the follow-up came out, A Twist in the Myth, that's the closest album they ever get to being minimalist. It's still very over the top, very, very gaudy in the way that Blind Guardian is. But compared to A Night at the Opera, it's like a bare bones record. And I hated it when it came out because it was so not like A Night at the Opera. I took it home from the record store. I listened to it 3 times and I took it back and I sold it the next day. Nowadays, I love that record. I love every Blind Guardian record. They're flawless. I love them, et cetera, et cetera. But it was just such a jarring transition because of how like just monolithic A Night at the Opera is. I mean,
it is, in my opinion, it's the biggest flex in music, that album. It's like, I think I remember reading about the production of the album, and like there's 256 guitar tracks like on one song.
And like the vocal tracks, they're doing like 32 to 64 Hansies at one time.
I highly recommend, if you haven't listened to that record, please go and listen to Blind Guardian, A Night at the Opera. Even from the opening track, like Precious Jerusalem, it is absolutely perfect from start to finish, that record. And then let's just also, I got Greg into, I've been trying to get Greg into Blind Guardian for over a year now. And the first time I ever met Greg in person, we went to the Snapcase Strife Earth Crisis show in Buffalo. And he was like, "Oh, I'll find you there." I'm like, "I'll be the dude wearing the Blind Guardian shirt, and I'll be the only person at that show wearing a Blind Guardian shirt." So
Absolutely.
it was very easy to spot me. But
Yeah.
this week, I told him, "You need to listen to," and then there was silence.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they regularly play that song live blows my mind.
Yeah, that's like almost a set list staple. I've seen him 5 times, and I only saw "And Then There Was Silence" once, but when they busted that out, I was just like, I can't believe that just happened. Like, how is this possible?
It's just like, we're gonna bust out just the most casual bust out of a 15-minute song
Mhm.
that is so progressive and has so many parts, and they're just casually busted out in their set.
Oh yeah,
Like it's
they make it
no
look
big
easy.
deal.
They make it look easy. And the funny thing about that is, my favorite thing about the production of A Night at the Opera, that song alone took as much time to record, produce, mix, and master as the entire rest of the album did.
I believe that. It is. I've told my partner Zoe this many times, but I would like that song played at my funeral.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Has a great line for that. "At the moment of death, I'll smile."
It is. I just see that song and I'm like, it is such a perfect song.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I honestly, I can nerd about Blind Guardian forever. Like, I saw them for the very first time in 2002 at their second ever North American concert. So their
That's awesome.
their first ever North American concert was the 2002 Prague Power Festival in Atlanta.
Uh-huh.
And they only played 2 North American shows on that
Mhm.
entire thing. They came over for 2 shows, Prague Power in Atlanta, and a show. I was very fortunate enough to grow up in Montreal, which is heavy metal capital of North America.
Mhm.
And I saw them in Montreal. And I remember, so I'd loved them for probably, I want to say 5 or 6 years prior to that point.
Yeah.
And I remember I went downtown to the record store to buy a ticket the day it went on sale. I was waiting for the record store to open to buy my ticket for it. And there was other, obviously, power metal nerds waiting for that happen because it wasn't even online ticket purchasing or whatever. At that point, it was like, I need to have the ticket from in hand. And
Yeah.
then the day of the show, I remember I went at 9 a.m. and I stood outside because I needed to have the perfect spot to watch this show.
Mm-hmm.
And there was already 50 people in line ahead of me at 9 a.m. the day of the show.
Oh, my goodness.
Anyways, so the show happened. It was Blind Guardian, and opening was Symphony X.
Mm.
And to this day, that my very first experience seeing Blind Guardian, I had the perfect spot, like a table at the back of the floor, like raised up. It was maybe one of the best musical experiences of my life, seeing them for the first time.
I believe it. That is awesome.
And since then, I think I've seen them probably five or six times since then.
Yeah.
Every tour they've come through, I've obviously gone because I would never miss anything they do ever.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the best shows I've ever seen are Blind Guardian shows.
Same, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Now, I don't remember. Did I tell you that I did a song with Hansi?
You did. I have not listened to it.
I just wanted to make sure you knew. Because that is that's like, I have to tell that anytime I talk about Blind Guardian.
So you've met Hansi?
Yes, several times. And spent some time with him as well. Not currently in contact with him or anything, but when he was working with our band, my old band Judicator, my singer John had been the one to form that connection and was friends with him, so we got involved that way. Yeah, he's just a masterclass musician, but also just like an extremely cool dude, if that makes sense. Probably the most humble musician I've met. Like, he talked to me like I was a peer, and I am absolutely not a peer. You know what I mean? And that was just so cool to me, like floored my entire expectations. Sometimes it's okay to meet your heroes.
Yeah, I don't even know what I would do if I had the opportunity to meet anyone in the band. I would, because I hold them at such a high standard compared to literally every single artist. I have two artists in my life that I hold to that high standard. One of
Mhm.
them is Blind Guardian, and the other one is Bruce Springsteen. And
Nice.
and those I I hold everyone else is below those two.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what I would do if I got to meet Hansi. Like I sometimes often like to think, what would it be like to like have your dad play in Blind Guardian?
Yeah, that would be
And
insane.
and I was just like, man, that would be so wild.
It
Because
would.
looking at them now, you're like, okay, these dudes are just playing dad rock at the local bar down the street. But then they
Yeah.
come out and they bust out, they're busting out like Mirror Mirror or Lord of the Rings or whatever. And you're just like, oh my God.
It's such an interesting contrast, and that's really like how they vibe in person too. They're just so down to earth, just and they're really devout metalheads, which is the cool thing. Like Hansi knows his shit about old school power metal, old school thrash metal. I mean, that guy could take anyone to task on 80s metal, like the deep cuts. Like I was talking to him about technical thrash metal from Russia. I think it's from Russia, Magace, who are just like, who the hell listens to that in 2015 when I was talking to him about it. And like, yeah, he just has such a cool, eclectic, deep taste, which I really respect. And like the band formed with like him and Andre skipping class and getting drunk and jamming out to Merciful Fate. Like, that's such a cool origin story.
And they're I like I said, I could nerd about them forever. But like the whole I remember when I think it Andre that broke his arm skateboarding.
I think
In
that was
like
Marcus.
Marcus broke
Yeah.
his arm skateboarding, and I was like, man, I just thought that was so cool that he still does that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. He's a cool guy. I've met him as well, and he's just really chill and down to earth. Andre's interesting because he's such a nerd. Like I was hanging out with Frederick and Hansi on their bus with John, my old singer, and and Andre was there, but he didn't really like talk because he was busy playing World of Warcraft in the corner. And he was just so into it. And occasionally he'd pop his head up when they started talking about beer because he's a big beer aficionado. But other than that, he was just like in the zone.
So we're gonna get into general power metal rankings, but before we get into general power metal, I need to know your top three Blind Guardian albums.
Absolutely. So I will say that there is not a lot of difference in how I view the quality of most Blind Guardian records. My favorite record of all time, not just Blind Guardian, all time number one record, Imaginations from the Other Side. That is the best metal album ever made, in my opinion.
I'm happy you said that because I don't know if you ever listened to the Hard Lore podcast.
I have not.
So it's Hard Lore. It's Colin and Bo. It's on the Knotfest channel.
Okay.
So they did a bit recently in an episode where they were talking about albums that are like master killer tier, as in like perfect albums start to finish,
Mm-hmm.
and they asked for listener submissions. This guy right here submitted Imaginations from the Other Side.
Hell
To
yeah.
that, to that, I was extremely hurt that they did not even mention it.
Oh, you were right, though. You're totally right. And
It is just absolutely phenomenal.
yes, absolutely. And I love that it's produced by Fleming Rasmussen, who also produced two other records in my top 10, By Inheritance by Artillery and Master of Puppets by Metallica. Dude's got a legendary rap sheet for sure.
Unbelievable. And if you see Blind Guardian live and they're playing Imaginations from the Other Side, you can count yourself as being very fortunate.
I saw the whole album live, even.
Oh my God.
That was a cool tour. That was probably my favorite show they've done.
So Imaginations number one.
Yes.
Number two,
Number 2 is going to be Nightfall in Middle Earth for sure.
Nightfall back to back with A Night at the Opera is such an unbelievable back to back in terms of music style, album style, and in terms of production.
Yeah.
Because in Nightfall, in my opinion, is the first one where they stepped it up a notch in terms of production from the previous record. And then they were like, wait a minute, hold my drink. Look what's about to come next. Nightfall, like let's be real here. Like, I know they play it last at every show, but it is an absolutely unbelievable song.
Yeah.
Mirror, Mirror.
I agree.
Like, let's just put that out there. Yes, we all love it. It's their closing song. It's the fan favorite, but man, it is.
That's
so
like
good.
their defining song for sure. Yeah, and then this one might surprise you. Number 3, Tales from the Twilight World.
That does not surprise me whatsoever.
Hell yeah. Some people look at me weird for that, but like, I'm a speed freak at the end of the day.
What?
I'm a thrash head, and that album is the perfect mixture of thrash and power metal.
Tales through A Night at the Opera is maybe the most perfect sequence of albums.
I agree. 100%. Like, you just go, what a fucking career they had in the 90s to 2002. Like, is there a better 90s run by any band? For me, no, honestly.
It does not exist. They released perfect album after perfect album. And I'm not just saying perfect album as a whole. Like, they did not put out a bad song for over a decade.
Yeah, absolutely. And
like,
that's the run where
2 decades, no bad songs.
And that's the run of albums. Like I said, I view all their albums in high esteem, but except for Beyond the Red Mirror, I hate how that album is produced. I like the songs, but I think it's very hard to listen to, production wise. But all their albums I love, of course. But that run of albums, Tales to A Night at the Opera, that's the run of the albums where I go, I have no comments. These are perfect as is. I would never change a thing. I couldn't even think of a criticism. This is why they're my favorite band.
That was the era that I got into the band and needed to consume absolutely every single thing that they did. And I was heartbroken when I did not attend Blind Guardian Festival when that happened.
Yeah. But that was on the Night at the Opera tour, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just after Night at the Opera when they released that second live record, right?
Yeah.
And the second live record is from the Blind Guardian Festival. And like they had, so for those that aren't familiar, they were like, you know what, we're the best band in the world. We're just going to create our own festival and headline the festival both nights. We're going to play 2 nights of the festival and we're going to headline and play 3 hours each night. And we're not going to play the same song twice.
Yeah, I think they hit almost all their songs those 2 nights.
Like, name another band that has 6 hours of at the drop of a hat live working material.
And that's the other cool thing about them. Their sets are so dynamic on their tour. Like, I saw them 2 nights on the same tour, and the set was like 40% different night to night.
Oh God, they're so good. Okay. In an effort to not bore everyone who does not like Blind Guardian, even though I literally do not care about those people, but let's talk power metal power rankings.
Yes,
I feel like power metal power rankings are a thing that I've been trying to keep up with over the last 5 years, and I have my all-time power metal power rankings.
Yes,
and I would like to start. We will both contribute to this from 5 to 1. Okay. Obviously, every single person listening to this knows what number 1 is for both of us.
Yes, all time. There's no question.
It's Blind Guardian. Okay. Let's go from 5 to 1. Who's your number 5?
My number 5 is for all time, not current bands.
Yeah.
Is Gamma Ray.
I love Gamma Ray. Have you seen Gamma Ray?
I have not. I had an opportunity when they were over here with Halloween, like 10 years ago, I want to say. And I ended up having to sell my tickets, unfortunately.
Oh, that's a bummer. So
Yeah,
I saw them around 2002.
that's a good time to see
It
them.
was No World Order
Yeah,
tour I saw them on, and man, were they good.
that's when Kai's voice has diminished in quality in recent years. That's when he was still like
He was
bang
firing.
on.
It
Yeah,
was a good show. Like
that's awesome.
when they played Heaven Can't Wait, I was just like, give this to me.
I'm glad you said Heaven Can Wait because there's a lot of people who don't like the first three records, and I don't respect that. I fucking love
They're so
the
good.
first three records.
Oh, come on. Get out of here with not liking those first three records.
I know, like whether it's Ralph singing them on the record or re-recordings with Kai or both of them singing it live, those songs fucking rule. I love those. Heading for Tomorrow. How can you not love
so good.
that song?
Oh, so good. Okay. So my number 5, you've already mentioned them once today. Nightwish.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
So my thing with Nightwish here. So I've seen Nightwish, I want to say probably like 10 or 11 times.
Holy crap.
Most of which were with the Tara era.
Okay. That's awesome. That live DVD, End of an Era, is one of that's like top 10 live shows to me.
Oh, I got the old vinyl box set right behind me over here.
That's awesome.
So that show, legendary show, but do you remember how they fired her after that show?
Yeah, they like left her a note.
They left her a note in the dressing room.
Yeah, ridiculous.
So keeping with Nightwish here. For those that aren't familiar with Nightwish, power metal band, female fronted power metal band. They've had 3 singers. Let's rank the Nightwish singers while we're here.
So I have to have a caveat with that. Am I ranking how much I like the singer overall or how well they do in Nightwish?
Give me both.
So if I were going to rank singers overall, how much I like them as a singer, it would be Floor Jansen is far and away my preferred singer, because I fucking love After Forever. Their self-titled album is just a monolithic masterpiece.
So good.
And then I would go Tarja for number 2 because I love her and I even like some of her solo material. And then I would go Annette last. And I do like Annette and I do like other stuff she's done outside of Nightwish. I think The Dark Element is very good.
I think I agree with exactly how you did it. So I'm just gonna guess if we were to do singer for Nightwish, you would put Tara first,
yes,
Floor second, and Annette third.
Switch Annette and Floor. I don't like Floor Nightwish. I'm sorry.
Really?
I think she's underutilized. I feel like, yeah.
The albums that they've put out with her, I do not like.
Yeah, I don't like them. But I saw them live with her, and it was phenomenal.
Amazing.
Fantastic.
So her performance of Ghost Love Score from Wacken 2013 is definitively one of the, like, what I like to think of like bands having like definitive moments in history of bands.
Yeah.
Her performance of Ghost Love Score at Wacken 2013 is the definitive moment of the second chapter of the Nightwish career.
I agree. And I think that is, I mean, honestly, that might be my favorite version of that song, even understanding that the End of an Era version might be number 1 for me, but I like it more than the studio version.
Oh, 100%. I wish there was a proper, I want them to go back and record my favorite Tara songs with Floor.
Yeah. And that's why the albums disappointed me, because when you see Floor, even if you don't know her outside of Nightwish, when you see and hear her sing the old songs, you understand the skill that she has and the range that she has. And then you don't hear it on her original material with the band.
Like they're like, whatever, the 2 albums they put out with her, like they're fine albums, like whatever. They're fine, but like hearing Floor sing Everdream, come on.
Yeah, Absolutely. I fucking cried when I saw that. I was a mess when they played Everdream with her.
It is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So
Without a doubt.
so like that's where I'm going. Like I think Floor is the best singer, and I like watching Nightwish live with Floor more than I
Yeah.
do. But do not play a single song off of the records where she sings on
Right.
them. Oh, if they
Yes.
played just the first two eras of Nightwish live with
Mm-hmm.
Floor, to me that's the perfect Nightwish.
And that's when I saw them, and that's why I didn't go see them again after that, because I was like, I think I just had the perfect experience. And
Yeah,
after the album came out, I was like, I don't want to ruin that memory, so I just kept it good there.
like what's that, like Bye Bye Beautiful or whatever it's called. Like I don't, it sucks. Like it's not. I mean, whatever. Like because they changed drummers too in that era as well, because their
Oh yeah,
original
yeah.
drummer suffered from insomnia and he had to quit the band.
Right,
But
right.
okay, so that's my Nightwish. Anyways, I've seen them with all three singers
Hmm.
in the Annette show. I swore to myself I would never go to another Nightwish concert after that Annette tour.
Yeah, I like her on record, but I have never seen a live video that translated well, which made me assume that it was not good live.
It was unfortunate.
Even on her own songs, like I haven't seen her sing her own songs well.
No, and it sucks because I'm sure she's a great person,
Yeah,
but she just did not fit the band.
yeah. Agree. I like her way better in The Dark Element with Yanni from formerly of Sonata Arctica, currently in
I got.
Insomnium.
I thought we were going to get Liv to replace Tara, but they gave us Annette instead.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay. Number 4.
Falconer from Sweden.
Oh, yes. Love Falconer. I
I
wanted
had
to go to their last ever show at Prague Power Atlanta, but I didn't go.
I had tickets and I hit hard times that year and I had to sell them, and I've been kicking myself for fucking 9 years since. But they are one of the most unique bands, I think. Matthias Blad is such an evocative voice and such a presence in the music, and Steven Wienerhall is just like he's one of my favorite guitarists bar none. Like they are so unique and magical.
They they are such an underrated band. Okay,
Yeah.
let's Wings of Serenity
Oh yeah.
is so good.
And the acoustic version is amazing too.
I have not heard the acoustic version.
It is a bonus track on the Metal Blade re-release of their self-titled album.
Oh, I'm gonna go listen to that for sure.
Yeah, they did Mind Traveler acoustic, Wings of Serenity, and I think it was Royal Galley that they did acoustic, and it's fucking wonderful.
And Lord of the Blacksmith, unbelievable jam.
Mm-hmm.
I love the sound in the
Yes,
background
with the hammer at the end.
So good.
And they're the only band that can sell like really corny lyrics at times. Like usually their lyricism is amazing, but sometimes they just say ridiculous things like "You're just a sheep to me with zippers in your back," and so the funny story about Transgressive that's related to Falconer and the song "Built on Genocide." I took Falconer lyrics from Home of the Knave, and I put that chorus into the second verse.
Oh, that's
at
awesome.
the end. Yep. I was that's that line. I was just like, this just like perfectly encapsulates the theme of this song. So I'm gonna go thrash scream it and see if anyone notices.
Oh, that's so good. It's the power metal world is worse off with them not playing shows anymore.
Yeah, I agree. And now they're done making albums, but at least their last album was great. I thought that their last album was really good. It was a fitting finish, had some really wonderful songs on it, but goddamn, it's a tragedy.
Yeah, I was really bummed when that happened. But okay, my number 4 is Ordenogan.
Awesome. Very cool. I will say I am not a big fan of their last two albums, but every single one before that, I was just completely enthralled with. And To the End is like absolutely one of the best modern power metal albums, I think. That album was just insane when it dropped.
They are such a strong band. So I'm a big fan of the Gunman record. I like it. I like I the closing song on that record.
Mhm.
To me, it speaks to me. It is an unbelievable album closing song. I don't know. I know it's not one of your favorites, but man, it's
I get why people like it though. It's just I like they used to have a lot more like Running Wild influence, which I
yeah.
really enjoyed. And they haven't really done that recently, but I totally get why they still appeal because they still write amazing hooks and amazing melodies, even if you don't like musically what's going on.
Yeah, they are also a very underrated band that I think
Oh yeah,
more people need to listen to them.
agreed. And Sieb is a fucking phenomenal producer. Say what you will about their musical direction in the last 10 years. That guy has produced so many great bands. And I'm actually going to mention one of them when we talk about current bands. But he produces amazing albums and uplifts bands that are really, I call it Orden Ogan core when he produces a band, because he brings all that epicness and knowledge from Orden Ogan and he makes bands better.
I really wish some of the Orden Ogan stink would have rubbed off on the Angus McSix record.
Yeah, that I'm confused by because like it doesn't sound like he produced that record. I'm like, I don't know, something happened there.
We will not touch on that,
Fair enough.
but it's because I listened to it. I did not enjoy it. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Okay, your number 3.
Galnerius from, I don't even know if I said that right, from Japan, who are so prolific and so good. Sayu is top 10 guitar players to me. Their most recent album is probably my least favorite they've done, and it's still one of the top power metal records of the year when they're quickly approaching 20 albums soon, probably, or 15 albums. I think that says a lot. They're the leaders in Japanese power metal, and I think, the fact that like Sayu's only 40 and they've already got this massive discography under their belt, just riffs for days, melodies for days, keyboard shredding for days. And they're so proggy and they get into such cool, whimsical adventures in their music. They, to me, prove why Japanese power metal is probably the strongest scene today.
So I agree. However, are we in this conversation? Are we considering ex-Japan power metal?
Yes, I will, to a point, and the only reason I don't put ex-Japan over them is simply due to quality of material, but I recognize, not quality of material, quantity of material. But I recognize that there would be no Galnerius without ex-Japan, and ex-Japan is up there for me too, like they're top 10.
So I did not include ex-Japan in my top 5 because
Okay.
there's that, there's a lot of debate whether we're considering them as a power metal band or not. However,
Fair.
if we are considering them a power metal band, I'm putting them at number 2. But
Okay, let's not consider them power metal then.
but because I'm a big Yoshiki fan, like,
Yeah.
and I love all over his new band, The Last Rock Stars, whatever. Just give it to me.
Yeah, I love ex-Japan. I can see why probably people wouldn't call them power metal. To me, the reason I often include them is because their first 2 records sound like 80s power metal to me.
They're power metal records. Like, they're power metal records. And then, when we get into like Endless Rain, but like, I mean, it's still so good. Like, they're such a good band. Like,
I mean, they've got 5 records. I guess one is technically an EP, Art of Life, and it's some of the most amazing music ever created. And we wouldn't have the strong Japanese power metal scene that we have today if it weren't for ex-Japan.
Yeah, I haven't watched it. Have you watched the We Are X documentary?
I've watched a little bit of it. Mostly I was skipping around to live videos, so I still need to visit the whole thing.
I've been afraid I was just going to watch it and bawl my eyes out the whole time.
Yeah, it seems pretty heavy from what my friends who are bigger X fans than I am have said, so I'm a little wary of things that involve death, but it's definitely something I want to sit down and really consume.
They're a bucket list band for me. I saw them in 2010.
No kidding. Wow,
At Lollapalooza.
that's awesome.
And on the same day, I saw X Japan and Lady Gaga
Wow, what a lineup.
on the same show. It was wild.
That is crazy.
But so I count myself very fortunate to have seen them live. But
Yeah.
and I would love to see them in the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah. Goodness. I can't even fathom. I would freak out.
Even in the year 2023, I've spent, I want to say, between 70 and 80 hours watching X Japan videos on YouTube.
That's awesome. Yeah, I always like at least once every month or two, just like burn through all 5 records. And I've really wanted to do a cover of Sadistic Desire, and I'm trying to work up the courage for it.
I'm like, the amount of times I listen to Born to Be Free, it is such a catchy song.
Totally.
Okay, my number 3, Freedom Call.
I am really not familiar with Freedom Call. I know who they are. I don't own any of their records. I've never really sat down and listened to a Freedom Call record. I've listened to songs at times, but I've never like been, where a band like you hear it and you're like, okay, this is good. And then sometimes it's like, but now I gotta dive into it. I've just never really every time they put out an album, I listen to, a couple songs. I'm like, oh, that's good. More Freedom Call. And everyone's excited, but I've just never really taken the time.
So you might not be a huge fan of their most recent albums because based off of what you've said about, the other bands we've talked about. However, the 2 most recent Freedom Call records, I think, are unbelievable power metal records.
Does that include the one with the like muscly guy on it?
Yes.
Okay, because I remember listening to some of that and going, this album does not sound anything like this cover would suggest.
Exactly. Like the second song on the record, Hammer of the Gods, is unbelievable, that song. Hammer of the Gods is a good one. Emerald Skies, Rock the Nation, High Up. Like that's that album, 12 songs, 12 hits.
That's awesome.
Love it. And the one after it is much softer. The one after it's called Metal.
Huh.
And it has like a hand on the front like this kind of thing. Great record too.
Interesting.
But
that's the softer one. You wouldn't expect that.
I'm a sucker for the ballad. Not that it's full of ballads or anything, but
yeah, it's just you'd expect like an album called Metal, like okay, that's going to be the really heavy one.
But the production's great, drums sound huge, really good listen. Highly recommend those last 2 Freedom Call records.
Yeah, at some point I got to fill in my gap there, especially because like some of their older stuff sounds a lot like Gamma Ray, so I'm sure I'll enjoy it whenever I get around to it. There's just so many bands.
Oh yeah, it's hard to keep up. Okay, number 2.
My number 2, and it's as solid as Blind Guardian is Iron fucking Savior.
Yes.
They are, in my opinion, one of the most consistent bands. I don't believe the talk when people say they put out the same album every 2 or 3 years. That is not valid to me. I think they're very consistent and they know what style they're doing, but there's very clear differences between their albums, especially their first 5 albums versus the following 6. Like there's definite differences in approach, whereas they used to be way more Judas Priest worshipy back in the day. Nowadays they're like more like 90s power metal, a lot of speedier, more heavy on the fast melodies that you'd associate more with post 2000s power metal.
A lot of chugga chugga double bass.
Yes, exactly. I love it. And Piet is he's my second favorite power metal singer. He's my favorite power metal producer. And the guy is just a riff machine in Iron Savior. He also helped start Halloween. He was the producer that helped Blind Guardian find their vocal sound and did a lot of backing vocals on the early Blind Guardian records. He was the main guy behind Savage Circus.
Is he the one who told Hansi to stop playing bass? Because I want to whoever that was, I want to shake their hand.
No, I think that was Charlie, because I think Piet only worked on the albums where Hansi was playing bass.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but he's just monolithically talented. He fucking hates Nazis and tells them to fuck off all the time. And he's one of my biggest influences on rhythm guitar. And the fact that we got 3 albums of him and Kai Hansen writing speed metal together is just like one of the coolest things in power metal history.
It's as close to a bona fide supergroup as you can get without actually being a supergroup.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about that first record, you had Tommen from Blind Guardian, you had Piet, who helped start Halloween, and then you had Kai Hansen, the freaking godfather of power metal, all coming together to make this incredible record. Like, and then Hansi shows up as a guest on it. um, so cool. And I love them so much. I will consume them for hours and hours on end and never get tired.
I wholeheartedly agree. I think, again, our power metal conversation here is way out in left field for normal listeners to this podcast, but I hope that our conversation here can get people listening to new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're clearly very passionate about this type of music.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
I think
it's a religion.
I think that it has universal appeal. People just got to listen to it.
Yeah, you got to give it a chance for sure.
My number 2, I think you're going to cringe when I tell you what my number 2 is.
Maybe, let's see.
Because I'm putting it as in number 2 with an asterisk because I've stopped listening to them.
Okay. Fair.
And I'll tell you the reason why.
Sure.
After. My number 2 is Avantasia.
You've stopped listening to Avantasia.
I've stopped listening to Avantasia.
So I respect the choice for sure. I actually, while I'm not a huge Avantasia fan, I'm a huge Ed Guy fan. And I do love the first 3 Avantasia albums, especially The Scarecrow, which I know is not a popular opinion.
Great record, though.
Yeah, I think that record fucking smokes. So I get it. You're supposed to like the metal opera more or whatever, but I don't know. I loved The Scarecrow. I still think it's their best.
I mean, I was still messing with like the most recent one, like not the most recent one, but the second to most recent one. The Ghost Lights, I think it was called, or whatever.
Yeah, I liked that. I mean, other than the most recent one, I liked all their records.
His song with Kisuke on the Ghost Lights record is phenomenal.
Yeah. And Moonglow has that song with Hansi that I think is great.
Yeah. So anyway, Avantasia, musically, great band.
Mm-hmm.
And like they are, this was the segue. They are, by all things considered a power metal supergroup.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen Avantasia twice. And the second time I saw them was in 2019.
Okay.
And it was, so I was very fortunate in that show in that it was one of my good buddies was putting on the show. And so I had all access to the show. So I got to like hang out with the band, backstage and meet them and everything like this. And Eric Martin was the nicest dude imaginable.
Okay.
Eric Martin, super nice. Toby was, I wouldn't say he was not nice, but he was very reserved. And so are you familiar with John Finberg?
Yes. And have been for many years, have screamed about that guy for like over a decade. Was happy to see him finally get some comeuppance. Don't feel it was enough, but yeah, very familiar.
So John Finberg is the reason why I no longer listen to Avantasia.
Uh-oh, what happened there?
So
I know he worked with them.
So he was their booking agent at that show.
Okay.
And I'm not breaking this isn't breaking news for anyone. Not that anyone listening to this is literally going to care about this because no one knows what we're talking about.
They're like, who the fuck is John Finberg?
But so John Finberg was their booking agent at that show. And John Finberg has had requirements for booking his bands.
Mm-hmm.
One of the requirements that John Finberg had was he liked young women. And at this show, I had my own, like it was at moderately large venue in Montreal. I had my own like private like box area to watch the show from. I had a seat, the whole deal, side stage. It was like a dream experience for me to be able to watch Avantasia, one of my favorite bands, and like have Eric Martin and Toby like pointing at me during the show. I was like, this is the best. John Finberg was in a box across from me on the other side of the venue.
Uh-oh.
And he was maybe the biggest piece of garbage I've ever seen. And his actions that night soured me on the show.
Yeah.
And I brought it up after. Anyway, he's John Finberg. There's not much anyone can do at that point. And then when all the stuff went down with John Finberg and he got his comeuppance and bands were dropping him. Do you remember that? There was a period, like a day where like Nightwish dropped him and then someone else dropped him.
Right. It's like Symphony X was like, no more, and Dark Tranquillity, no more. And everyone was dropping him.
Toby did not drop him.
Oh.
That first day. And there was a big thread on this is one thing I'll say about Toby, is that he's what you see is what you get with this guy. He runs his own social media. Like, it's not someone else running it there. It's just full-blown unhinged Tobias Sammet running the social media for Avantasia. So on the Avantasia Facebook page, he released a statement saying, we want to have due process and see how this plays out in the courts. And I was like, and even in the statement, he says, I don't even know this guy. And I called him out on it publicly on his Facebook page.
Yeah.
And I proceeded to get in a multi-comment argument with Toby about him saying he did not know John Finberg.
Oh, God. That's like demonstrably false.
When I literally am sitting there having this conversation with him, and I have a picture on my phone of him having a conversation with John Finberg in the same room as me.
Yeah.
And he proceeded to spend the entire conversation. I still have it screenshotted. Spend the entire conversation telling me I had no idea what I was talking about. I was never there that night, and basically trying to discredit me.
Right. Yeah.
When I have actual photo evidence of what happened.
That's bad. I did not know about that. That definitely sours the water.
So I have not listened to Avantasia since that day.
I don't blame you. I respect that you still acknowledge that, when we lose favorite artists, that doesn't change how we once felt about them. I think that's an important grief to acknowledge. I certainly have those in my own experience. And now I have to rethink my relationship to Ed Guy. Goodness.
It was very, he was extremely rude and mean to me for just publicly for wanting to just, for me trying to like hold him accountable for being like an actual good person. And he kept saying, well, this is what this is what we have to do. We have to wait for the court of law. And I'm like, dude, every other band has dropped this guy, and you're sitting here. You're currently Tobias Sammet, about to die on this John Finberg hill.
No, thank you.
Get out of here, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I'm very sorry you had that experience. That is deeply shitty. Especially so personal. Goodness.
And it was John Finn, like, he's not here to defend himself, but like, just go read up who John Finberg is online.
Yeah,
like
literally just Google it. There's several articles.
Like, I don't even know if is he working with any band anymore. I can't imagine he's still in the industry.
I mean, I've heard rumors that maybe he's like minorly working from the shadows somehow, but it sounds, I don't know. It seems like he's gone, but I haven't really paid attention because it seemed like he was gone from the obvious spaces.
Because for a while he held a stranglehold on
basically North American booking for
all of my favorite bands. He basically held a stranglehold on them. And
Nightwish, Symphony X. Yeah.
It was, so that whole thing surrounding Avantasia, like, and like, I loved Avantasia so much.
Yeah.
So much. Like, I got Metal Opera Part 2, like, as when it came out. Like that's how
Damn.
long I've been listening to Avantasia for.
It's like 2 decades of fandom, if not more.
Yeah, and it was thrown all away by this interaction.
That's so bad. I'm so sorry.
But I felt like it was an important thing to do because, you know, you while you look up to these people as songwriters and musicians, you still have to hold them accountable to their actions.
Absolutely.
They're people at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I by no means expect moral purity out of, you know, artists, but there's a line. And when you cross it, I don't think there's any coming back. And such fervent defense of somebody, like, I know we just keep saying his name, but like there is a lot of context to that name, John Finberg, and a lot of deeply shitty stuff associated with him over a long time period. Defending a guy like him is like extremely over the line, I feel.
And it's like, it's not like he was defending him. He just refused to actually condemn his actions, which to me is like the biggest cop out. Like they served this up. They served this up to him on a silver platter in that every single one of his peers had denounced him.
Right. Easiest thing.
And he refused to. And I was like, you are in the process of killing your legacy right now is what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, my number 2, Avantasia, asterisk.
Understood. Fully understood. I appreciate you sharing that.
But if I had to boot them out, I'm bumping Gamma Ray in.
Hell yeah. We'll take both number 5.
So, and then obviously number 1 for both of us is far and away Blind Guardian, because
no contest.
Because they're the most perfect band to ever exist. And
exactly.
So, okay, I think we've been chatting for a solid 2 hours here.
Yes.
So I think this is probably a good place to wrap up this conversation.
All right.
It has been so wonderful to finally have you and have this conversation about Propagandhi and also about power metal.
Likewise, I really had fun talking to you, and I appreciate you taking that time and having me on here.
And one last time before we go, can you please tell everyone where they can find you online, and please tell everyone about your bands and where they can find your band stuff?
Absolutely. So like I said, we are Transgressive, my thrash political band, and Project Roenwolfe is my more power metal thrash band. And then I also have a funeral doom band called Wraithstorm. And those 3 bands are all on Bandcamp, and Transgressive is only on Bandcamp very intentionally. So you will only find Transgressive on Bandcamp as far as social media goes. The others have Instagrams and Facebooks as well. All of them are on all your streaming services, Amazon, Spotify, iTunes, whatever it is that exists these days. And then I myself am on Twitter. I do everything through my personal Twitter. It's Ali_in_chains, ALLIE. And I do everything through Twitter, through my personal Twitter. I don't really do different social medias pretending to be different bands. So it's just me and all my things that I do. Definitely the best place to follow. And then follow all our Bandcamps as well. And next Project Roenwolfe album comes out June 2nd via Syrup Moose Records, so about a month away. And it's going to be a banger, I'm telling you.
I cannot wait. I love that band. Like
I'm so glad
very
to hear
much
that.
I'm very much looking forward to that record. And
hell yeah.
Yeah, so we will definitely chat about that when that comes out because I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for all the kind words. That's so nice of you.
And thank you again for joining me here today. And I'm happy we finally got to make it work. And yeah, so that has been this episode. Thank you for everyone for listening. If you made it this far, if you didn't, well, it's just us. Side by side, you'll never bring us down.